The girl noticed something strange during the exam. She realized the exam questions were from her practice tests. This made Lynn feel incredulous. Was it just a hallucination from studying too late? However, she glanced at her surroundings and realized she was in the school's exam hall. She secretly turned to her best friend, Grace. But Grace still didn't know the answers. Just then, there was a loud crash behind them. The teacher slammed a blackboard eraser against the wall. Their sneaky behavior was noticed by the proctor. Luckily, it was early in the exam, so he didn't investigate. Lynn answered all the questions with lightning speed. Then, she took out her eraser and switched her pencil to pen mode. Then, she wrote all the answers on the eraser, hinting to Grace that the answers were on it. Then, she took off her shoe and quickly tossed the eraser into it. They had never done anything like this before. But suddenly, the proctor stood up. Appearing to have noticed something, he walked off the podium until the teacher walked right past them. The two finally breathed a sigh of relief. The last step was for Grace to return the shoe. She kicked it at the right moment, but she kicked it too hard, and it landed in the aisle. In an instant, both their hearts were in their throats, seeing the teacher about to return to the podium. In desperation, Lynn picked up her exam paper, went to the aisle and casually stepped on the shoe, then calmly walked up to the teacher, pretending to ask if they needed to write their names on the scratch paper. The teacher said they had to, so she casually wrote her name. This time, Lynn's reaction was not only a cover-up, but also perfectly covered for Grace, obtaining the precious eraser filled with answers. Sure enough, Grace also got excellent grades. In this prestigious school where everyone just wants to have fun, Lynn's excellence shone brightly. Grace happily invited her to go swimming that night. Little did she know, this event would change her destiny. That night, Grace took her to the pool of a top hotel. Grace told her boyfriend, Pat, about what happened in the exam. Therefore, Pat made a deal with Lynn, wanting her to provide cheating services for him. 3,000 baht per course for 6 people. 13 courses a semester would be almost 240,000 baht. It would be a lie to say Lynn wasn't tempted. Lynn's family wasn't actually rich. Back then, her dad spent almost all of the family's savings so that Lynn could study abroad, sending her to the most famous high school in Bangkok. The interview went much smoother than expected. No one could refuse a student with a perfect GPA, who had won many national awards, and who was also very good at piano and swimming. But at that time, Lynn didn't seem too happy, because it costs 150,000 baht per year to study here. However, she learned the truth from Pat. The students here all pay a sponsorship fee. The worse the grades, the more they pay. Grace paid 400,000, and so did Pat, and donated 20 Apple computers to the library. Even the best student, Lynn, has to pay 200,000 baht. So, she didn't have to pay until now, because her scholarship was just enough to offset it. So, the school was profiting from her scholarship. Back home, she indeed found the sponsorship fee receipt. Dad seemed to be hiding something too. Even more surprisingly, she found a divorce agreement. But Dad said her mother passed away when she was born. So, what her father said was a lie. But she didn't question her dad about it. Instead, she asked her dad why he insisted on her transferring to this school. Her dad said he hoped she'd have better opportunities in life. In this moment, she seems to realize something. Those wings that should have soared freely are now bound and reduced to mere tools. Fueled by anger at the school's shady dealings, Lynn agrees to partner with Pat in a cheating scheme. Besides, she stands to make a lot of money. But this time, the cheating operation is much larger. To this end, Lynn sets up a piano tutoring class. The students who come here are all her clients. Lynn designs a set of piano finger movements, each corresponding to a different answer choice. Only those who have learned it can understand it. This method helps them get through exam after exam, as more and more people come to learn piano. However, an accident soon occurs. There's also a straight-A student at school named Bank. He and Lynn are the only two in the school who get scholarships, and the two come from similar family backgrounds. So, they've struck up a friendship in private, like two stray cats meeting and sympathizing in a luxurious zoo. But Bank doesn't know about Lynn's piano class. During this exam, he suddenly discovers that someone is secretly copying Lynn's answers, and angrily reports the student to the teacher. Originally, this wouldn't have interfered with Lynn, but unfortunately, that day's exam had 2 sets of papers. The principal finds that she worked on 2 sets of questions on the scratch paper. This confirms the possibility of cheating. Bank didn't expect that he would end up harming Lynn, but now it's already too late. The principal has already invited Lynn's father to the school. Originally, the plan was just to revoke her scholarship once. But unexpectedly, this time Lynn couldn't hold back and mocked the school for getting rich by collecting donations. The principal was also enraged by Lynn and revoked her opportunity for a full scholarship to Singapore. This scholarship is related to a combined bachelor's and master's program. There was only 1 spot available to begin with. Bank was previously in 2nd place and should have been hopeless, but now it directly falls to Bank. Returning home, her father also flew into a rage about this, coupled with the school's various disgusting behaviors. Lynn can't help but feel confused about the world. Should she just be a tool to be manipulated by others? At a confusing crossroads in life, Grace wakes her up again. Grace and her boyfriend, Pat, are going to study in the US, but to apply, they need to pass the STIC exam. This time, they're offering 600,000 baht. Lynn is tempted, but hesitant. It's a global exam, not just some school thing. But just as she's about to refuse, she's drawn to the world clock on the wall. The STIC exam time is the same worldwide, but there are time differences between regions. For example, it's night in Thailand now, but it's daytime in New York. Lynn has an idea and accepts the challenge. And this time, she's going big. She tells Pat to get more rich friends involved. She'll fly to Sydney to take the exam. She'll finish the exam early and memorize the answers. Then, during the 2 10-minute breaks, they'll have phones ready in the bathroom. They'll send the answers to Grace in Thailand. To pull off this elaborate plan, the phones have to work perfectly, so they need a reliable device. Once Grace in Thailand receives the answers, she'll use the time difference to print pencils. The width of the barcode represents the answers. Then the clients can bring them into the exam. For the essays, they'll prepare keywords. As long as there are no mistakes, it'll be fine. But Lynn isn't a robot. She only has time to memorize half the answers. So, she needs another helper. Bank's family situation is even worse than Lynn's. His family runs a laundry shop, but they're too poor to even have a working washing machine. His mother washes all the clothes by hand. She sacrificed so much for her son's education. But the day before the Singapore scholarship exam, Bank gets beaten up for no reason. The next day, he wakes up in a junkyard. So he misses the scholarship exam, losing out on the bachelor's and master's program. He lost an important chance to turn his life around. It's at this time that Lynn finds him and explains her intentions, and tells him they're the same. If you want something better, you have to give more. But Bank doesn't want to buy it. Lynn doesn't push it and turns to leave, leaving Bank with an address. Because she knows Bank will come. They're the same, Lynn knows it. If the stakes are high enough, you'll be brave enough. Sure enough, Lynn waited for him, and Pat rounded up over 30 people. After deducting the necessary costs, Bank will get 1 million baht, and Lynn's is double that, or even more. Bank collapses when he hears the number. He never thought he could make so much from an exam. Bank thinks it's just this once. After Lynn gets this money, she'll have the security to study abroad, to make sure everything goes perfectly. They even rehearse what to say if they get caught. But during their chats, Bank finds out that Pat had him beaten up. He suddenly lunges at Pat like a madman. Pat explains that he was standing up for Lynn. He took away Lynn's Singapore scholarship, but he didn't expect those guys to be so brutal. Seeing such a dismissive explanation, Bank can't contain his anger. Lynn didn't expect this to happen because of her, so she immediately ran after Bank. If Bank wasn't in, neither was she. She'd return the money and call off the cheat. But to her surprise, Bank came back, saying he'd do it for the money. So they went to Australia to take the test, mentally rehearsing the steps over and over. They looked out at the grand world, determined to conquer it, to master the rules of this world and be free. Before the test, they hid their phones in the bathroom. Then they entered the exam room, their minds racing. They both quickly finished their assigned questions, trying to imprint them in their minds. Back at the printing house in Thailand, Grace and Pat were ready, with 30 examinees and writers on standby. The pencils would be sent to the test immediately after getting them. Time flew by, and the first break bell rang. They rushed to the bathroom, frantically typing in the answers they had memorized. But at that moment, Bank's resentment resurfaced. If it weren't for these rich people, he would have already received his scholarship. He wouldn't have to be selling his soul to them. So, he decided to blackmail Pat. If you want the answers, send another 1 million baht. Pat was furious and called him a robber. But the break was only 10 minutes. And now it was the final moment. In the end, Grace transferred her savings. Only then did Bank finally send the answers. However, during the break for the second test, both of them ran into trouble. Bank was reported for hogging the toilet. The examiner broke down the door. In the end, the answers were sent, and the record was deleted. Even the phone was flushed down the drain. But he nervously dropped the toilet lid where the phone was hidden, ultimately leading to Bank's arrest. Lynn, on the other hand, hadn't finished transmitting the answers. When the examiners started checking each stall one by one, she had to hide her phone in her shoe. Before entering the exam room, she stuffed it under the water dispenser. When the test restarted, Bank's seat was empty. Lynn's heart was filled with anxiety. She forced herself to finish the remaining questions. However, time was running out, and the test in Thailand was about to start. In desperation, she grabbed a pencil and shoved it straight down her throat, making herself vomit to fake an illness. Then she chose to abandon the test and walked straight out of the exam room. But at this time, Grace and Pat in Thailand were confronted by Lynn's father. Lynn had previously said that she and Bank were going to participate in a competition, but the competition pass was at home. He couldn't contact Lynn. At the same time, Lynn was sending answers frequently. The test takers were waiting for the printed pencils. Time was running out, and things were getting desperate. Suddenly, Grace had a flash of inspiration, saying that Lynn and Bank were dating. They secretly went out to play, saying Lynn was worried her dad wouldn't approve, so she lied. She didn't know how to stop them. Lynn's dad was stunned, but he believed it. He breathed a sigh of relief and left. With the crisis averted, they immediately started moving. Soon all the examinees had pencils. The motorcycle army was mobilized, taking Lynn and Bank's brains to the exam room. Meanwhile, Lynn got disqualified for leaving the exam. Lynn's final score was cancelled. Bank, who was caught, is banned from STIC for life. She looked at Bank through the window. Bank just gave her an "it's okay" look. The two who were once so confident about conquering this place ended up with Lynn returning to Thailand alone. Her dad was there to pick her up at the airport. A few simple words between them broke Lynn's heart. It was then that she realized she was wrong. She once thought she could lead Bank to break the rules, to master the world in their own way. But in the end, she ruined Bank's future. But unexpectedly, she received a message from Bank the next day, inviting her to his house that night to talk. When Lynn arrived, his house had been completely renovated. There were also several smart washing machines lined up. A trace of relief was added to Lynn's sorrowful heart. But soon, this trace would also be shattered. Bank was expelled from school for cheating. He just handed her a piece of paper and asked, "Are you interested in the entrance exam for Thai universities? This is more profitable than STIC." Lynn felt endless guilt and wanted to pull him back. It was as if Bank had opened Pandora's box. The former Bank had been completely devoured, and a brand new Bank radiated a dark light. Lynn understood that Bank could no longer turn back. What's worse is that Bank now wanted to drag Lynn down with him. If Lynn refused to cooperate with him, then he would reveal the STIC cheating scheme. Looking at the Bank in front of her, it was like seeing someone she had never met. She once tried to touch and even control the rules, but reality hit her hard. So Lynn understood another thing. The rules are set for the poor. Trying to break it is like a moth flying into a flame. So she chose to turn back. Even if you're honest, the world will still deceive you. Lynn has always been in the unwritten rules. She was exploited by the rules while also exploiting them. Bank, from the initial whistleblower, eventually became an organizer under the temptation of money. The Dragon Slayer eventually became the dragon. The rhythm of the original movie is very exciting and refined. Never thought that exam cheating could be filmed so passionately. The tension escalates step by step, with various ups and downs and incredible twists. And the story is based on real events. If you want this feeling, I highly recommend the original movie. Movies are an art that echoes in the mind. Amber is just recommending a movie. Touching the original film will allow you to experience a life